so pleased you're here to join me in my Dragon's Lair, my studio where my writing and videos take place. Thanks again for tuning in. As I do the daily reading from Convergence, Book 1 of the Dragon Within Saga. You can find it online on my website. The link will be in the descriptions. So we're going to jump right in again to Chapter 5, continuing on with Erebos, as he is remembering his journey back to the elvish city of Mectheniel, as he was summoned by the Princess Glenovia regarding her Indri Primos ceremony. So here we go, we're going to continue on. When he was within perhaps 5 miles of the back gate to the City of Light, out of the corner of his much-attuned eye, he caught a fleeting glimpse of a flash of bright yellow. He instinctively paused to glance in its direction, seeking to get a better observance while attempting to conceal his presence. Even though he was within the boundaries of the Elven Kingdom, his enemies were such that he had to maintain a constant state of awareness lest he be taken by surprise. Complacency was oftentimes the root of demise for the warrior, especially a warrior of his reputation, admittedly well-earned. As the warrior poet of Avendia, he frequently found himself participating in a duel to the death over the honor of this woman or that woman. Several lords, merchants, tradesmen, and peasants had forfeited their lives to him because they could not let him walk away. How was he to blame if his natural talent exposed within some listeners emotional desires they had previously attempted to keep hidden? He was not acting upon anything that was not there, nor was he purposely manipulating women to lay with him when they did not desire it. He always attempted to leave his current place of habitation before events of a life and death nature ensued. However, there were always those times when he was either chased by lords on horseback as he was fleeing, or confronted while he was yet still in his current dwelling place. Either way, his was the way to offer a truce to the confrontation, even going so far as self-banishment and payment of reparations. Yet he found that the passions of the men of Avendia most times were stronger than their sense of business or desire for self-preservation. The many times as he was challenged became the same number of times he emerged victorious. But they were also the times he deepened in his sorrow and longed for home. None had seen death like him. None could, for none was adept at dealing it out, whether in single combat or battles on the open field while at the command of an army. He killed, he won, and he wooed. That is who he had become, and all he would ever become. Therefore, when word of the princess's invitation found his ear, there was no decision to be made. Going home would allow the burden he carried to be forgotten momentarily. A burden, in truth, he wished he was never meant to carry, for it was growing with each passing year. There it was again, set vividly against the backdrop of the lush and endless hues of green made famous by the great green forest. He saw a flash of sun-drenched yellow blink into existence only to become hidden as quickly as it was revealed. Stopping his progression toward the rear entrance to his childhood home, he began to silently walk in the direction of this deep yellow flash. Because of his time spent in nature, he had developed a rather keen appreciation for all of its splendors in regards to some of the most uncommonly seen birds. He found that they, apart for any other creatures, contained a brilliance of color that could stop the eye. So it was with anticipation that he might finally catch a glimpse of another of the rare birds of the great green forest, the yellow star, a bird that had been able to avoid his appreciation thus far. Seconds later, he saw it again blink into existence multiple times, except now it was accompanied by several bright and clearly metallic flashes as they reflected the sunlight set at the perfect angle. Still closer he progressed, wondering what the yellow star could be holding in its small beak. The closer he approached, the more he realized he was not witnessing one or two yellow birds gathering materials to make their nest, but rather a pattern movement of a rehearsed martial form. The flashes of metal were not held in a beak, but gripped in two hands, and the yellow flashes were not produced by the brilliant yellow feathers of the yellow star, but instead the long and beautiful yellow locks of hair from a woman. The martial patterns he was able to see through the foliage were not those of elvish design, however. The steps were slightly too heavy and slightly too rushed. But regardless of their flaws, he was impressed with the speed and directional combinations of the flashes of yellow and metal now highlighting his field of green-dominated vision. When he was close enough to catch the full scope of what his eyes were longing to see, but still remained hidden from his object of observation, he was instantly amazed. Indeed, he was not watching an elf systematically progress through the series of static and dynamic forms of the elves' martial techniques. He was instead watching human female spin, whirl, twist, kick, and strike while wielding two smaller blades. Just as the leather of her blades were wrapped in the alternating black and red stripes, so too was her body clothed in an alternating red and black pattern of light leather armor. Amazingly, she was able to keep perfect balance amidst the violently complex movement combinations while wearing a style of boot he had seen only in the ballrooms of the royalty in the southern lands. The heel of it must have been lifted nearly 6 total inches above the placement of her toes. He had seen many an experienced courtier and princess go spilling to the ground while attempting the simplest steps of the simplest dance, yet this woman was able to hold her balance perfectly while she danced the lethal dance of blades upon uneven ground. For that reason, and that reason alone, she held his respect and wonder. Once he allowed his eyes to avert their attention and analysis from her beautiful footwork, they were next drawn to the deep flashes of yellow that produced his initial notice. Her hair, brilliant and blonde, long and full, flowed as if it was a part of the intricate martial maneuvers. At one time wild and straight, and at another flowing and demure, he was forced to stand in wonderment at its completeness to hold him captive. All but mesmerized by her poetic hold, he was beginning to instinctively devise a plan to compel her to stop so he could witness her in what would be all the splendor of stillness. So intent was her devotion to her current endeavor, she had not noticed him and his increased breathing. He decided that boldness was the only avenue of action that would produce the respect necessary to hold this woman's attention, even if but for a moment. And judging by her obvious prowess in battle, a fleeting poem would accomplish no such response. She had obviously heard words before, and words without the backing of her respect would hold no promise of her continued interest. Yes, boldness needed to be harnessed this day. And as such that he was, boldness was a quality he would never find lacking. Stepping into the clearing, a dangerous thing to do when a warrior was in training and drawing his sword, yet even a more dangerous thing, he spoke by projecting his voice enough to gain her concentration. There is a better way. Alright, we're going to stop right there, just as Araboth introduces himself to this woman with the blonde hair. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate it. Love your time and attention. And thanks again for liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful day. And until next time when we find out more about Araboth and this woman, have a wonderful day. And always remember to release your dragon within. Thank you. Have a good day.